They live in their own little like area, and they don't really bank with like NBD, Chase, or whatever. They only believe in banking with their bank. You understand what I'm saying? And their money goes back to their country. It's not even held here in America, which is a good thing.
But
and
see, okay,
go ahead.
Can I interfere for a minute here? Okay,
Yeah.
Africa. Okay, they just got bought out by China. Okay, China paid them X number of dollars to agree to a bill to kill whales. You know, it's all about the money. And see, certain groups jump in and they try to get everyone to go with the money because, and what did they build them? They built them chicken coops over on the seaside that do absolutely nothing. They're still sitting empty to this day. Like, there's a big freaking picture that a lot of people are not looking at. And see, JFK was going to take out of the silver to pay off the deficit and get the country out of debt. This has been going on for many years, and many presidents have been killed over it. It's a very big, deep picture.
Well, you
it's
saw
still
what
going on
happened.
to this day.
You saw what happened to JFK, and they continually run that film back and forth and let you see that all the time and do movies and let you see that. And everybody looking at that got a certain understanding about, you know, what kind of moves you want to make. Look at what Kennedy did and look at what he got.
Okay. But Emma, like run that forward now. And what are they doing now? What countries are they paying off now? And what are they doing now? I'm telling you, I feel that Israel is the next one to go because I think that Israel has gotten on their own feet. They're doing their own thing, and they're going to be the next ones because all of a sudden they're going to say, you know what? We don't want Illuminati.
Yeah.
Certain sects of them because, okay, like you got to remember, there's not always one group inside of a government. There's many groups inside of a government. That's the way it's always worked.
But
so what's going to happen? I'm sorry, what?
But you know what really is, it's like this. If you go to every town, no matter where in the country, no matter how big the city is, there's always a Masonic temple.
Yes. And that's
There's always a Masonic temple. And what does a Masonic temple represent?
Well, you know what? That's under debate as well because Masonic temple can mean two different things because the sect itself, and I mean the sect, it actually divided. And that's what a lot of people don't understand, is that it did actually divide. And that's where we all get lost.
Let me read this right quick.
Okay.
Presidents who were Freemasons: George Washington, James Monroe, Andrew Jackson, James Polk, James Buchanan, Andrew Johnson, James Garfield, William McKinley, Theodore Roosevelt, Howard Taft, Warren Harding, Franklin Roosevelt, Harry Truman, Gerald Ford.
And Bush and his dad.
Bush, Skull and Bones. Okay?
Yep.
Ronald Reagan, they got pictures of him on the internet standing at the Bohemian Club, having a good time with Richard Nixon and everybody else.
Totally agree with you.
I
totally agree with you.
They are running this thing. They're running this country.
Skull and Bones and the original Masonics are two different things. That particular sect did divide. This is what a lot of people, they kind of get lost in this thing. I understand that the Masonics are attached to the Illuminati, but their original Masonics are not. So it's really, really hard to like try and figure out who are who and who are what. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, they all seem to be in
but they all seem to be the same.
They all seem to be in the same club.
They're all in the good old boy club.
Yeah. But they did divide.
You know,
they divided.
When we went to
They
Philadelphia,
totally divided back in the 1300s.
Yeah, well, people
they
fight. They
divided up.
People fight over
but you
money,
know what?
They come back together.
When we went to Philadelphia, we went to the Masonic Temple there. And let me tell you, these rooms are so huge you know.
And actually, the guy who created those, Yeah, the guy who created those is the one who also created the Mormon religion.
Yeah.
So if you go back far enough, you'll see that he created the Mormon religion as well. So it's like, that's what I mean. Like, that's where you get your division, where some went some way and some went the other way. When it came to the Masonic Knights that actually worked for the Templar Knights, that worked for the church, they divided and split off, where some of them fled to Scotland, and some of them fled to Spain, and some of them fled to France. Then they had to leave France because of the war that was going on in France. Like, it's the history. You have to go back through all the history to actually get caught up on where everything went, because I think that's why now we have people that are trying to help us, and then there's people who are trying to put us down.
Yeah, I understand that history where Jacques Desmoulins got burned on a stake and everything, and the Vatican rushed the Templars and took everything they had and said they were homosexuals and they were the Antichrist and everything else, and they chased them into the underground. They slaughtered
them and they burned them at stake.
Yeah, exactly. You know.
Okay. The Catholic Church, and I was brought up Catholic. The Catholic Church is one of the most corrupt churches in the whole entire world. They have archives sitting underneath their feet that they don't even want people to look at. It's disgusting.
Right.
You know, like, they've let some people in to see some things, and you have to follow your history buffs to actually see the people who have actually gotten in and got a few digs here and there and, like, ran off to, like, Africa or Afghanistan or all these other little countries and, like, dug up stuff. Like, it's that's why I'm saying it's so deep.
You know, not mentioning the pedophilia and everything that goes on within the Catholic Church, and just talking about the Vatican Bank and the money laundering and everything that goes on. They're into everything. You know, they're into the drugs, they're into the prostitution. Every slave that was sold, they used to get a cut. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Vatican.
Well, actually, they're Satan worshipers.
Right.
If you actually go back through, there's a video that I watched of a guy, and I'll try and find a link for everybody.
I don't think they believe in Satan or God, either one. I don't think they're superstitious at all, not at the top. You know what I'm saying? But they use superstition in order to control people. That's what they do.
Well, this whole skull and bones thing is about sacrifice. They sacrifice to their so-called God. I'm just going to use that word because I can't really say what I really want to say without it coming across too crazy. But you know, like, people that don't understand it and haven't researched it, it's sick. It's like totally sick, and they do it, and it's mass numbers. Like, okay, children being killed in a schoolyard. I'm sure we can look back on many different things that have happened in the U.S. 9/11, for one. Oh, that would be a major sacrifice right there.
Yeah.
But you have to look at it from all kind of different angles and be open-minded. Like, I'm not saying that it's all perfectly real, but have an open mind. Look at many different things that are going on. And
well, let me tell you, Nighthawk has an entry.
He's very tuned, yeah.
He has an entry that he plays for Revolution Radio that comes on, and there's a call, and I think it's a 911 call where the girl is saying about, is anybody coming up here to get us? The place is smoked up. You know, we're on the floor, and she says it's getting really, really hot. You know, and let me tell you, every time I hear that thing plays, it just hits me right in the soul, and it hits me so hard, you know, that something like that can happen to people, that other people can do something like that to people. And I don't know if that girl made it out of there or not, or she was one of the victims. But it's just horrible to even hear it to me, you know, and to think that the people that are behind that are off, with golden parachutes and writing books and having a ball. You know what I'm saying? Living the lives of multi-millionaires and everything. As if, there's no payment to be made for that kind of death and destruction and stuff that they threw upon the world, in the name of war and strapping people down under Homeland Security and then TSA and freedom and totalitarian state.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's sad. And see, the Rockefellers actually paid both sides of the war because it's a win-win situation for them, right?
Yeah, it's a win-win.
Well, they're part of the Freemasons too.
They'll sell you an armored car, right? And then they'll sell the other side a rocket-propelled grenade.
Right.
In order.
So they were paying both sides of the war and didn't really care who won because they were paying both sides of the war. So what I would like to do, Emma, is I would like to send you a video, and I'll send it to you through Skype. Something that I fell on, probably about 6 months ago, but it's a little different. You have to look at it from an open mind, and it's just going to give you slightly a different perspective on a couple of different things.
Yeah.
And I feel myself that and everything else that's going on with everything else, they knew that this was all going to happen, and just they're sitting on it and really don't care. But just look at it from an open mind.
Right.
You don't have to believe everything that's there, because I don't believe everything that's there myself. But just look at it, okay?
Okay, I'll take a look at it, and I thank you.
I want to read something about. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Jeff.
I said, I thought you were hanging up. I wanted to read something about where people think they're free and the difference in what we interpret to be free, as far as in the in the Black Masons and the White Masons mind. An insert that I found that was dated back in December 2000 says, that amongst the Black Freemasons and the White Freemasons in the United States of America, the majority of the old South Confederate states, 12 to be exact, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, West Virginia, Tennessee, Arkansas, Kentucky, Florida. And this is why people say, well, I'm a Mason, and I'm a Mason. And I'm like, but you're not a Mason like they're a Mason. You understand what I'm saying? So in your mind is, again, they're saying, well, I'm free to be a Mason, but you're still not free to be a Mason, because guess what? You still don't get the respect. But these states have not saw fit to end the 34 years, 234 years of segregation and racism within the Masonic order. They said that they still will never really accept black people being Masons or Freemasons.
You got.
Okay, Deb, I totally get where you're coming from, but what people are forgetting, and I'm not trying to start an argument or anything here, Masons, why were Masons started? The original Masons were started because they were a group of people that went around and built buildings. That's what the original Masons were. Now, that's why I was trying to explain to you that the sect itself actually divided because they didn't like what was going on. That's why I'm trying to say that, and, I'm still looking into the whole entire Mason thing, because it's just, it's so thick and it's so deep. But they're not all the same. They are not all the same.
Well, and Freemasons are different from Masons.
They totally did split. They made a big split. That's written in history. It can be looked up anywhere. And that's why I'm okay. Everyone has always talked about, well, there's one group that's working for the planet, and then there's another group that's not. The Illuminati's not working for the group. But there's another group that were attached to the Illuminati that are working for the planet. And I think that's where we probably may have our split. I'm still looking into it because it's a lot of information to go through. But the Masons originally, look into what they originally started for and